G'day guys! Welcome to Friday's Funny! Oh yeah, Friday's Funny! Oh, you know, after a hard week being angry, nothing better than having Friday's Funny to make me laugh! Oh, I need to go and have a drink. See ya.
G'day guys, and welcome to this week's edition of Friday's Funny. Just before we get started, I'd like to say thanks to TheGreatAussieMate for doing an intro for this week. Okay, now on to our featured YouTuber for this week, and it is WizzyWigNuttyJoe51. So let's get this show started with our first joke. So I heard you change your Facebook relationship status to is complicated. Yeah, well what's it to do with you? Why, couldn't you make a decision what hand to use?
A blonde is speeding along the road, and she's pulled over by a blonde police officer who asks to see her driving licence. And the blonde driver says, "What does it look like?" And the police officer said, it's a rectangular shaped thing and it's got your picture in it." So the blonde driver looks through her handbag and pulls out her compact mirror and hands it over to the police officer. And the blonde police officer opens up the mirror and looks at it and says, "Well, if you told me that you were a police officer, I'd have never pulled you over."
A horse and a chicken were out playing in the meadow. Horse comes up to a mud hole and falls in and starts to sink. He calls to the chicken to get some help from the farmer. The chicken goes back to the farmer but can't find him, so he goes and finds his Mercedes. He drives the Mercedes back up to where the horse is and ties a rope to the end of the Mercedes and then ties the other end to the horse and pulls him out. A couple of days later, the horse and the chicken are out playing in the meadow again. This time the chicken falls into the mud hole and starts to sink, and he calls out to the horse to get the farmer to help him pull him out. The horse walks over to the mud hole and stretches himself across and says to the chicken, "Grab my thing and I'll pull you free." The moral of the story is, if you're hung like a horse, you don't need a Mercedes to pick up chicks. Well, that wraps up another edition of Friday's Funny. I'd like to say thanks to TheGreatAussieMate for doing an intro for this week. And I'd also like to say thank you to WizzyWigNuttyJoe51 for being featured on this week's Friday's Funny. Just remember guys, if you'd like to be featured on Friday's Funny, all the information will be down in the description bar. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week with another edition of Friday's Funny.